They're not written in a way that encourages neurodivergent people to apply. So we could revisit how those are written. If we get them in for the interview, I already told you that a lot of neurodivergent people don't interview well. And so we're not bringing out what they do really well, the way that our traditional interviews are set up. So that is something that we could visit. Onboarding, we lose a lot of people in our first 90 days. What can we do to make that part of getting to know the business more welcoming and supportive to people who are neurodivergent? So we could explore that. But today, here, we're going to talk about ongoing support. So they're already here, they're already on our teams, and we're in full go mode here at the mountain. What can we do to better support them? And so what I'm going to do is keep track of time. I'm going to give you about 15 strategies. So there's 2 slides of strategies. I'm going to go through them. And what I'd like from you is to pick out 1, maybe 2, that are the easiest to implement. Small changes can have a big impact. If you try to be like, oh my gosh, this is my biggest thing that I struggle with, and you try to do that, it's not going to happen. Not after just this one conversation that we're having. But a small change can help. So 1, maybe 2 strategies. So I'm going to go through them, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think. Okay? All right, number 1, communication. Use simple, straightforward language. Don't leave anything up for interpretation. Go ahead and practice that discomfort that comes with being a little more direct, a little more forward, a little more clear. Communicate using more than one of the senses. If you write it, also say it. Or if you say it and you're trying to teach something, act it out. I don't know. Just how can you use more than one of the senses to communicate? Why do slides always come with these presentations? You hear it and you see it. Be clear on the big ideas when you're speaking and writing. And so those bullet points at the end, these are the big ideas. I need this, or I want to hear this from you, or we're going to do this, and just really clarify it, whether you're speaking or you're writing. Allow time for thinking. I am a very slow thinker. And so my question at the end, I'm going to say, who has questions? Well, I will not have my questions until I'm in my car, driving home, or in the shower later. And I'll be like, oh, there it is. That was the question. How can they follow up with you? Or you'll say, well, what do you think? I said, write down, what are your big ahas? You might not know them yet. So how can people follow up with you later? Like, actually, that didn't quite make sense, or I actually have a really great idea for that. The environment. Offer shorter but more frequent breaks to improve focus. So I'm sure every department's got this set up differently, but sometimes people just need to get away more regularly to kind of calm and quiet everything. For some people, that looks like a walk outside. For some people, that looks like a chat with a coworker. Some people just want to get away to a quiet spot. And so is there any way that we could create a space to get away with less stimulating environment? Of course, depending upon the role that you all are in. But I'm thinking like a space that has softer lighting, away from the smells of the common area in the kitchen, maybe with no talking, like there would be like a no talking zone, and we would actually encourage you to leave your phone outside. Just 2 or 3 minutes of that can really bring some clarity. Task management. So for our people who struggle to see the big idea, break it down into its steps, stick to the timeline. Let's just help them with that. So create checklists. We're going to need to do this, this, and this. Help them to set deadlines, and then go ahead and check in on those deadlines. I work with a data analysis guy. He helps me interpret all my data that I collect from these kinds of things. He's brilliant, and he cannot meet a deadline. And so I can make myself crazy. Like, dude, we talked about this plenty of times, or I can just shift how I do things because I want his spiky, brilliant brain. So I'm going to change how I do things to better support him. Okay, a few more strategies. Social interaction. Know and respect the personal communication styles. Maybe you've done surveys like this or not, but I was working actually with a dog training company, and we put together something like this where everybody can talk about their preferred communication style. If I get a barrage of text messages, I will melt down and shut down completely. Like I can't even handle it. So if you've got something really important you want to talk to me about, face-to-face is going to be the best way to do that. But that's not everyone. So depending upon how important it is and that you have this conversation with this person, just find out. Do they prefer emails? Do they prefer texts? Do they prefer face-to-face? And meet them where they are. For those who don't necessarily fit into the group socially, invite them to participate in social events. And if they say no, invite them again. And if they say no, invite them again. And don't stop inviting them. They might just not be ready to participate. They might not, I don't know. Who knows what's going on, but just always let them know that they're welcome to be part of the group. But if there's something that they really should attend, don't leave them to guess. Just let them know. Like, I don't know what the requirement was to be here participating today, but if you're expected to be here, but you say it's optional, like, let's just be really clear about, you don't necessarily need to attend this one, but this one you really do. Direct, clear, literal, open, all those things. And help them set boundaries with clients, colleagues, workload, so that they're not overwhelmed. When plans need to change, here's the technique. Tell them that a change is coming and leave them to it. We have a tendency to want our teams to be like, no, we got to go now. This thing is happening. We got to take care of it now. And you can have that, but you might also have some stressed out employees a little bit closer to losing it, a little more on edge. Where sometimes all it takes is just 1 minute of quiet for them to collect their thoughts, let go of the old task, pivot to the new task. And then after 1 or 2 minutes, you have an employee less stressed, ready to go. Meetings, we're pretty good at sharing agenda with well thought out larger group meetings, but even on one-on-ones, really try hard not to be like, hey, I need you to stop by. I just want to chat with you real quick about a thing. That's going to leave some people just guessing and maybe panicking until that time comes. So then just be like, actually, I need you to stop by my office later. I want to talk about this so that they can mentally prepare themselves. Some people want to know what's expected, or just like a little bit like, you know, these people are already kind of nervous. If you think about someone who has struggled at school, so they didn't fit in well at school because they've got dyslexia, or they can't manage their time and get their homework done, or because they don't fit in socially, you're going to get adults who are a little bit more on edge and worried all the time. And so what can we do to make this more comfortable for them? Okay, so what I want to do then here is stop. Think about you. What is 1 or 2 things that you're like, yeah, I could do that. I could make that change pretty easily starting right now. And I'll stop talking for a minute. You bet. You're welcome. Okay, maybe 30 more seconds to wrap up your thoughts. Time for some questions at the end. Okay. Okay, because we kind of talked a little bit about the good news at the beginning, so I just want to remind you that when we really support these people and embrace neurodiversity, people who are neurodivergent and their supervisors agree that they bring some pretty awesome strengths, and you've already heard these: hyperfocus, creativity, innovative thinking, detail processing, and being authentic at work. So for those of you, and I know there are some here that are still like, really, I have to do this for the 1 or 2 people on my team who's a little bit different than everybody else. I want to encourage you to think about this idea of universal design, which is the idea that what we do to support one person ultimately ends up supporting many more. 20 years ago, when I started as a special education teacher, we were trying to get audiobooks for our students who were dyslexic so that they could listen to them. And that was not a thing back then. And there was like all this paperwork, all this red tape to get through to get these audiobooks. Super annoying. And in fact, what we would do is go home and record them on cassette tapes. So like we would read the book into the cassette tapes and give them to the kids. Flash forward to 2025, and I bet most of us have some sort of Audible subscription, or we're all listening to podcasts. So we love to listen to things. So what was good for this small group of people 20 years ago, turns out we all love. And so if you can make these 1 or 2 tiny changes to the way you do things, and you make it just the norm, like you do it over and over and over again until it becomes normal, you're actually just helping many more people who come along. And so this is where I'm going to pause so that we have a few time for some question and answers. But I really appreciate your interest in this. I appreciate the people who came in person. It's nice to see you, have somebody to talk to. And if you want to continue this conversation